Well, good morning to you. And I want to thank you for joining me today as we come back to Exodus and spend some time in the truth. Yesterday, we saw God's declaration of his anger in relation to the people of Israel because of their sin, the idolatry that they've fallen into, while Moses is on the mountain receiving the law from God. His anger is very intense, and his declaration to destroy the people of Israel and create from Moses a new nation is very clearly stated. And today we're going to look at verses 11 to 14, where Moses intercedes for the people, but not because of their own merit, not because they deserve to be forgiven or restored in any way. The people are actually not a part of Moses' intercession in any way, because this picture that Moses paints has everything to do with God's reputation, his glory, his praise, and what the consequence of choosing to destroy the people would do, not to the people of Israel's reputation, but to God's reputation. Well, I'm going to get into it, and we'll hopefully put the pieces together when we get to the end. So verse 11, scripture says, "But Moses implored the Lord, his God, and said." So Moses now comes to the Lord, and he has this whole picture of intervening in the situation. And he comes with a spirit of meekness and humbleness before God to remind him, not that God needs to be reminded, but to speak the truth about where the situation is and what the consequence of God's declaration would be. And so he implores the Lord, saying, "O Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand?" So if you recall back in verse 7, God said to Moses, "Go down to your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt," because they've corrupted themselves. So here in there, God distanced himself from the people. They're not. They're yours. They declared it earlier, right? They said, this man Moses who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we don't know where he is. God wasn't in their picture. God left it the same way when God approached Moses, and Moses flips it the other way and speaks what is true. This is the truth. These are your people that your wrath is burning hot against. They belong to you. You are the one who brought them out of the land of Egypt. It wasn't me. None of the credit goes to me. You did everything with your power and your mighty hand. You delivered your people. They are yours. And then he goes on to talk about why. Afterwards, here, verse 12, he says, "Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent did he bring them out to kill them in the mountains and consume them from the face of the earth?" So here, again, the glory of God is the focus of Moses. Moses doesn't defend himself. He doesn't say, what's my reputation going to look like if you do this? He points back to God and says, what is your reputation going to look like in Egypt when you wipe out your people in the wilderness? And word gets back to Pharaoh. Pharaoh's just going to ridicule the whole idea, because look at you. You did all this to us just to what? Take your people out in the wilderness and kill them. What's the point of that? So again, the focus is all about the glory of God. This is what you have done. Let not your name be damaged because of the sins of the people. Don't let your anger drive you to the place where you make such a choice where your reputation would be at stake over the people's sin. It's all about you. Ultimately, it is all about God. The end of verse 12, he says, turn from your burning anger and relent from the disaster against your people. So turning from this decision, you've declared that these are people who you're going to kill and you'll make from me a great nation, but you need to change that perspective. It's interesting, the word relent, somewhere here I wrote it down. Oh, must be on the bottom of the previous page. Sometimes I can't find what I'm looking for. You get that. Well, I can't find it. Well, I know I wrote it down. Oh, scriptures. He says he relented. The word relented means that he found a state of condition of relief from his anger. So through Moses declaring the glory of God, God's anger was suppressed. I'm personally convinced that Moses here is being proven by God, because Moses doesn't take any credit for anything. He points everything to God. And as I mentioned yesterday, I believe it's like Abraham taking Isaac up to the mountain. God never intended for Abraham to kill Isaac. He did provide the lamb and prevented it. It was a test. Here, it's a test. Testing Moses. What do you really believe? And Moses does exactly what he should. He focuses all of the attention not on himself, not on the people, but on God, who has delivered them and brought them to this place. And so God relents from the disaster. We'll find that as we get to the end of the verses here today. And then he brings back to God in remembrance the covenants. So he says in verse 13, remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self and said to them, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven. And all this land that I have promised, I will give to your offspring, and they shall inherit it forever. And so again, he's still focusing on the glory of God. You promised this. You told Abraham with an unconditional situation, I will make of you a great nation. I will give you a land and a hope. I will give you a descendant who will be a blessing to all nations. I will do it. It wasn't dependent on Abraham in any way. And so Moses using this intercession, again, not to talk about the people. He doesn't mention the people at all, other than the fact that they belong to God. But he doesn't try to justify their actions. He doesn't try to beg for forgiveness for them in the sense of, a direct statement. Please forgive them for their sin. That statement doesn't come. Moses reflects only the truth about who God is, what God has promised, and what the reputation of God will suffer in the event that the people of Israel are destroyed. And through all of that, we come to the end of the verses today, verse 14. And the Lord relented from the disaster that he had spoken to bring on his people. And so some will look at it and say, well, God changed his mind. Well, God's unchanging in every aspect of his character. So the fact that God is unchanging, immutable, means that God, in his omniscience, understood fully that he was going to respond to Abraham with the justifiable response. These people deserve to be destroyed. They have committed this blatant sin of idolatry, and God had every right to destroy them if he chose to. But God knew exactly what Moses was going to do. And because he did, and he saw in Moses exactly what he wanted to see, that Moses didn't focus on the people. He didn't focus on himself. He focused on the glory of God. The test is complete. And God says, okay, that satisfies me. And I will pursue the course of action that keeps my people in the promise that I made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So sometimes it's hard for us to understand and fully comprehend exactly what's in the, well, to be honest with you, it's always difficult for us to understand exactly what is in the mind of our infinite God, who has all knowledge and all wisdom and all understanding, and how he interacts with us on whatever level he does. But clearly God's purpose is accomplished here. Moses has declared through this intercession the fact that he is fully committed to the person and work of God, and that God's glory is critical in the mind of Moses. The people have sinned. They deserve to be judged. But God, in his mercy and grace, is able to keep his promises true and faithful, and he will deliver them from this sin, and he will establish them in years to come in the land that he's promised. So the intercessory prayer of Moses, there's a lot we can learn from Moses. Quite often when our prayers are intercessory, they are filled with our thoughts and our desires and our hopes and dreams. And the glory of God is not anywhere at all in our imagination. What would glorify you? But that's not what Moses does. Moses' prayer of intercession is completely and utterly focused on the character and nature of God and his reputation in the world. And I wish that could be more our thought as we live life day by day, as representatives of Jesus Christ, as ambassadors for him, that the glory of God would be the focus of the things that we do, as Moses focuses here on the glory of God. So it's a beautiful prayer, and it's a prayer that is effective, and God will relent from the disaster. He will find relief from his anger, and he will allow the children of Israel to go on in this journey and continue to be faithful to them, even though they are being very unfaithful to him in this moment. And so I'm very grateful that that's true about our God and all that he does. And so we'll jump back into this on Monday, as we come back Monday to get into verses 15 and following, to see what's going to happen as Moses now comes down from the mountain and finds out what exactly is going on with the people. So thanks for joining me today. and this week. And I'll look forward to seeing you Monday as we come back to Exodus and spend some time in the truth. Walk with the Lord. Please Him. Honor Him. Glorify Him. That's the purpose that we exist for. God made us for His glory. And I hope that our lives will reflect that going on from today until He comes. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you Monday. Have a great weekend.